I encourage you all to enter your Caitlin Clark era if you haven't already. By that, I mean dominate your field. Welcome back to Alternative Jargon. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Alternative Jargon episode number 36. Caitlin Clark has taken over the world, and for good reason. She is going to get an absolutely insane WNBA contract. And by insane, I mean she'll be the first WNBA player to finally finance your local drug dealer. So it is great to see her making a splash, literally and figuratively. I understand that the tournament is not yet over. She has not yet been crowned champion, but it really doesn't matter if they win or lose. She has capped off a very historic year, one of the greatest athletic years maybe we've ever seen in college sports, and it's amazing to see. Now, of course, I'm joking about the WNBA contract. Don't be upset. She should have $1 million contract, though. I would hope so. She's definitely, I think, going to break some type of record with whatever she gets. Right now, entire WNBA teams are only paid like $1.4 million, according to the Google search I did. That's their salary cap, which is crazy to think about that because the NBA, like, veterans minimum is what now? Like probably $5 million or something. So, one player makes more than a whole roster. But that's just how things work. Caitlin Clark is going to smash that record, and she should. She should get paid basically what an entire roster gets paid. Ticket sales are going to be really good at her games. And I heard a good point the other day about the WNBA. The WNBA started in the 90s, so it's like around 30 years old. And the point that somebody made on TikTok that I saw, they said, hey, the WNBA is basically at a point right now where the NBA would have been in the 70s. And we know that that's not the end-all, be-all of basketball. So that's a good point. The NBA's been around since the 40s. They had a 50-year head start on the women. So it does make sense that, the women's league is behind. Now, is the WNBA ever going to be as big as the NBA? Absolutely not. It's not possible. But I think it's really good that it's finally, hopefully, going to maybe get some more respect. So that's a good thing. I've seen some people make an argument that Caitlin Clark might get more money if she stayed in Iowa for another year, but she has already committed to the draft, so that's not going to happen. She could probably make more money on Cameo than in the WNBA. Probably, which is a sad thing, but what else could Caitlin Clark do to make more money than being in the WNBA? Probably, like I said, sell drugs, make a cameo, maybe go back to Iowa and sell alcohol to underage freshmen with an upcharge, of course, the Clark fee. What else could she do? She could probably not a grocery store job. I have had one of those. Those don't make too much money. But, hey, all jokes aside, even WNBA players that make $100,000 a year, they're still living a better life than we are. They get to ball for a living. So, it is nice to see women's sport in the limelight. It's not always there. I feel like every 4 years, people pretend to care about gymnastics in the Olympics. Besides that, though, not a lot of women's sports get the attention they probably deserve. But I really hope that Caitlin Clark uses her voice for good things, and I am never a person to say this about celebrities, okay? I couldn't give less of a crap about what Taylor Swift has to say about the West Bank. I don't care, and nobody should. I don't care what Timothy Chalamet thinks about, Ukraine. I don't care. However, I want Caitlin Clark to get up there and stand up for women's sports and beg for Leah Thomas's medals to be taken away and given to their rightful winners. Let's keep the women in women's sports. How about that? I can't imagine working for basically your whole life to become a top performer in your sport or your field, and to have it taken away to have your achievement taken away by somebody who just literally has a biological and genetic advantage over you. And for the sake of politics, your work goes for nothing, basically. And you're standing there on a podium, and yeah, the second place spot. You should be on the first place spot, but you're not, because somebody with a biological advantage over you decided they wanted to be a swimmer or whatever sport. It's frustrating. So, Caitlin Clark, now's the time. And I am, of course, joking. The only thing that Caitlin Clark should be speaking up about probably is in her Gatorade commercials. And that's what every athlete and celebrity should be speaking up about. Just do your commercials and go home. I'm kidding. But, hey, if Barry Bonds isn't in the Hall of Fame, then Leah Thomas definitely shouldn't have medals. Let's just keep things consistent here. And speaking of steroids, have you seen pictures of Adolis Garcia, the Texas Ranger? He is huge, and he wasn't always huge. And not only are his arms looking like that one episode of SpongeBob where SpongeBob blows up his arms, but his head's gotten bigger. And as we all know, that is one of the telltale signs of steroid use. Barry Bonds started off as just an average-looking guy. And then a couple years later, hey, I need 3 sizes up in my fitted cap, coach. Don't know what happened. Maybe he was taking Joe Rogan's brain, Alpha Brain. That could be it. But I doubt it. I don't think that was the case. But yeah, the steroid era of MLB might finally be back. And if that's the case, put Barry Bonds in the Hall of Fame. And, the fact that the Astros still have their 2017 banner, but Barry Bonds isn't in the Hall of Fame. Let's just keep things consistent. So, but yeah. A 2002 study actually found that steroid use reduces your reaction time. So I think actually Barry Bonds was playing with a disadvantage. He was playing with a disadvantage, and he should have a statue outside the Hall of Fame. I think that's only fair after what he's had to endure through this process. It's so funny, too, because I draw a lot of parallels between Barry Bonds and O.J. Simpson. People treat Barry Bonds like he's a freaking murderer. I don't know what it is about that situation, but you say the name Barry Bonds and people act like he was, orchestrating death camps in the 1940s. And I don't know why the hostility is all on him. I'm sure it's because he's the all-time record holder for home runs and one of the greatest players of all time. But there have been plenty of cheaters in the history of baseball, many of them just very recently, but Barry Bonds obviously cheated. He used steroids, but he's still probably the greatest hitter in the history of baseball. Before the steroids, after the steroids, whatever. But you never see him in the public spotlight. You never see him in the media, and maybe that's because he doesn't want to be, but I don't know. You never hear about him. And it seems like he's sort of shrouded by this cloud of, I don't know how to put it into words exactly, but it's a similar thing to O.J. Simpson. I see more of O.J. Simpson than I see of Barry Bonds on social media. I mean, O.J. Simpson's got like a TikTok, he's got a Twitter, he's always, posting something. But yeah, you never see Bonds. I saw him, I think he did an interview like a year or two ago, and that's all I've seen of Barry Bonds. So, but I digress. Back to Caitlin Clark. Like I said in the intro, whoever your Haley Van Lith is, or your Angel Reese, go tackle that mother trucker. All right. Enter your Clark arc and attack your goals head on. It's that time of year. It's the time of year where there's no major holidays. Easter's over. We got 3 months until 4th of July. It's that time of year where there's nothing going on. So guess what's going on? Whatever your thing is, that's what's going on. Right now, my Angel Reese or Haley Van Lith that's standing in front of me is getting a job after college, And that is a hellish process. It's no fun. Maybe your Haley Van Lith or Angel Reese is that next scratch off is going to be the one that has the 10 grand in it. Maybe that next spin is going to be the jackpot. Maybe that next parlay is going to be the one. Or, maybe, I don't know who's listening to this. Maybe you are trying to have a baby. I hate when people say that phrase. I know this isn't an unpopular take nowadays, but whenever a married couple or whatever they're having a conversation and then they're asked about having kids and they go, "Oh, we're trying." There's just got to be a better way to put it. Everyone knows what it means when you say we're trying. You don't want to think about that for 99% of people. I don't want to know that. Just say, "Oh yeah, we'd like to have kids." But don't go, "Oh, we're attempting." When was the last time you attempted? Just don't say that. That we should reserve those words for suicide attempts and leave it there. I'd rather hear someone talk about them trying to kill themselves than hear someone say, "Yeah, every night I'm trying to get knocked up." Every night. I don't need to know. Anyway, yeah, while Caitlin Clark is cutting down nets in front of the whole country and probably making a crap load of NIL money, I am seeking a 9-to-5 office job. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. When I sit down for an interview, and I look across the table at whoever is going to ask me what my weakness is, I'm going to act like they're Angel Reese, and I'm going to have that killer instinct, and I'm going to pull up from half court and hopefully make the shot. So, yeah. But honestly, the process of finding a job is terrible. It just sucks. It's no fun. You have to put on a mask. I mean, you do and you don't. One of the things I hate most about that, though, so I had an interview earlier this week, and you get stuck in that voice. You know that interview voice? The voice where, if you've ever done an interview, you know what I mean. But then you're done with the interview and you have to, it's hard to switch off that voice. And it makes me think, if you spend too much time in that world, you could get sucked down the rabbit hole, and that voice is just permanent. It's like that movie, The Mask, with Jim Carrey. But anyway, yeah, I'm not going to go into any details about I'm not going to go too into detail about my job searching process because, on the off chance that one of my potential future employers hears or sees this, I signed an NDA. I have nothing to share. My my interview with Boeing is going great. I'm going to fix the planes. Don't worry, I'm on the job. So, but I did sign an NDA. That's all I can say. Can't really go into too much more detail there. But yeah, one of the things that's been really on my mind recently is spreading yourself too thin. I recently have felt really spread too thin. I feel like I am focusing on 20 things at once, and it does drive me crazy. I try to get a podcast out every week. Recently it's been bi-weekly, which is sort of to my own disappointment because I really do try and want to do it every week, but I try to do that, go to all my classes, apply to a bunch of jobs, do my work study, get some exercise, have a social life, and I've been trying to read books again, which I have been successful with, but that is so much stuff, and I know I'm not getting on here just to complain, but I'm sure other people feel the same way. And I'm just at a transitional period. College is coming to an end. I'm about to get a job. And I can't wait to have that job where I can go to work for 8 hours a day, come home, know that I am financially secure, and then just do whatever I want with my life outside of work. And that's all I have to worry about. Right now, I just have way too much crap going on. And I can't wait until all that stuff is, ground into a singularity so I can just focus on one thing. All I have to worry about is getting out of bed tomorrow morning and going to work. Some people consider that a personal hell, but I can't wait to do that. So, yeah, and you try to do all those things, but then if you miss even one, you feel like a piece of crap. You miss one of those things for one day, and you're like, oh, I'm such a loser. But you're not, and no one is. So, yeah. I am digressing again. Somehow I went from Caitlin Clark to this, but she is exactly what women's basketball needs. The last recognizable face, and maybe one of the only other active WNBA players that anyone can name, was just arrested in Russia last year for drugs. And look, I know it's just weed. We don't care about that here. But still, it's not a great look. And you just got to be smarter than that. And no matter what your take on Brittany Griner is, I think everyone can agree that, hey, it might have been better if she didn't have that on her resume. Just for her own personal brand, for the brand of the WNBA. Someone says the acronym WNBA, and then you just hear, a bunch of druggies in Russia, So Caitlin Clark is going to hopefully uplift that league. The only other WNBA player I can even name off the top of my head is Sue Bird, and I think she's like in a retirement home at this point. She's old. And it is sad. Gigi Bryant probably would have been even bigger than Caitlin Clark. Unfortunately, her life was cut short. She might have been the next face of the sport. And I gotta say, it kind of rubs me the wrong way that the new face of the sport is going to be a white woman. That just feels racially motivated, and I think it's wrong. And I'm not afraid to admit it. And I am kidding. I am absolutely kidding. It's a joke. And the camera is insanely dark, so give me 1 second. Let's turn this up. I don't know why it does this. I mean, I know it's getting darker outside, so the natural light is sort of, going down. I get that, but it's like very dramatic when it does this, and it does it out of nowhere. That looks better. But it happens every time. Actually, the last episode I did, literally, like, halfway, I had to go back and color correct the episode. So now the episode looks like green. The last episode of this podcast looked like I was in the Matrix. Yeah, I don't know what the deal is. So, it's not a cheap, it's a pretty good camera. I don't think it's the camera's fault. I think I just don't know how to do lighting. I really don't know how to do lighting. For being a media and journalism student, I suck at that stuff. And I don't really care enough to learn. Podcasting is not a medium that visuals should be emphasized. If you're thinking too much about how a podcast looks, you're in it for the wrong reasons, if you ask me. I actually sort of hate when I go to watch a podcast on YouTube and it looks like they're in like a professional news studio or something. Like, that's not... You're missing the point. I enjoy podcasting more where someone's just sitting in a pile of garbage. I prefer that. Recently, I've been rewatching House of Cards. I started this series years ago. I was a lot younger then, and I only watched like a couple episodes, and obviously my knowledge has drastically expanded in the years since, so I better understand the show and the plot and the characters and what they're talking about now than I did, when I was 15 or whatever. So it is a really amazing show, and I don't care if Kevin Spacey is a creeper. That just means he plays an even better creeper on the screen. So perfect casting for Kevin Spacey as Frank Underwood. The one thing about the show that I wanted to analyze is that obviously the show came out in 2013. It's not new anymore. But it used to be really, really, really taboo to talk about the type of things that is presented in that show. Politicians are corrupt. Politicians have people killed. Politicians all cheat on their wife. It's all, Washington, D.C. is the dirtiest city in the world, perhaps. All of that stuff used to be a lot less acceptable to discuss, and now it's all out in the open. Everyone knows it. Everyone, it's not a secret, and it hasn't been a secret for a long time. But I think this show kind of was a landmark for that, in the fact that, hey, now we're making a dramatized version of Washington, D.C. politicians, and it's going on the biggest streaming platform in the world. And that's awesome. I love it. But if this trend continues, what has been taboo to talk about in the past few years? It used to be, taboo to say that there's a pedophile island, and that your favorite celebrity is probably raping kids. If you said that 10 years ago, you would be looked at like an insane person. And of course, now everyone knows it's true. So, how long will it be until we get an Epstein Island TV show? I just rambled on about House of Cards because I want to know that. And I can't wait till it comes out, because that is going to be one heck of a show. And no, I'm not watching it because I think it's cool, but to see, bring back Kevin Spacey. Let's see Frank Underwood go to Little St. James. Let's see Frank Underwood's punched ticket to the Lolita Express. Eventually, since we have torn back the curtain on how our world works and how the most powerful people in our world operate, it's only a matter of time until we get, Timothy Chalamet and Sydney Sweeney playing Bill and Hillary or something. It's gonna be awesome. and I cannot wait. It's going to be great. We just have to wait for the Clintons to finally die and go to hell, and then we'll have like a cool HBO series or something about everyone's favorite pedophiles. It's going to be awesome. Maybe we can get Chris Hansen, if he's still around by then, to make a cameo at some point in the show. It would be awesome. And if there is a director role or really anything associated with a potential project like this, please let me know. I'd love to work on that. I think it would be really, really, really fun. And by this time, we might even have access to the real island. We could just shoot on set. We could shoot on location. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. How long till we have a TV series about Building 7 and those who orchestrated its demise, along with the rest of the World Trade Center? Let's get to the nitty-gritty stuff. Let's get to that, because as we have seen, things will not always remain taboo. And eventually, there's gonna be a series about it. I mean, another good example, Jeffrey Dahmer. This dude was like trying to create human zombies, 40, 50 years ago in the great state of Wisconsin. Murdered, what was it, over a dozen people? Raped, murdered, 8, tried to, turn them into zombies. One of the weirdest guys of all time, would not want to get a beer with Jeff. And now, Netflix show, he's got a show. And people dress up as him for Halloween. There's a certain group of people that are sexually attracted to Jeffrey Dahmer. Just very weird stuff. So you can't convince me that anything is off limits when it comes to a dramatized show. Nothing's off limits. Just give it 20 years, 30 years. I bet there are people working on a script right now for the pedophile show, for the Epstein Island show. And I wonder what they're going to title it. What's the name of that show going to be? They already took Love Island. That one's off the table. They took Love Island. They took To Catch a Predator. I don't know. And that's why a more talented person is going to work on the writing than me. But like I said, if there's a position available on set, I really want it. I think it'd be fun to work on a project like that. Another one that I think would be fun is, a dramatized version of Hillary Clinton's meltdown behind the scenes after losing in 2016. And also Trump in 2020. That would be must-see television. I imagine that both of those nights when they found out, we're screwed, had to be somewhat a similar situation to that fateful day in Hitler's bunker. Obviously, they didn't eat cyanide with their kids or anything. They're still here. But goodness me. People that have worked with Hillary Clinton say that she is like a demon behind the scenes, which who could have seen that coming? But I would pay a good amount of money to see what she was like that night. And I would pay an equal sum of money to see what Trump's reaction was like on November 7th, 2020. Just really, really fun stuff. But no, House of Cards is great because it does show you how probably 99% of politicians act behind closed doors. I imagine every congressman and woman 10 times throughout the day glancing into a fake camera that's not there and saying some sinister line. They probably love it. And if they don't literally do it, they definitely fantasize about it. They definitely watch House of Cards and just absolutely get off on it. I'd really like to see... now, I don't think he probably does it, because I don't think he is even well-spoken enough to think up a sinister line like Frank Underwood could, but I'd love to see Trump do this, where he does the look into the camera and say something. You know, he signs a bill into act, and he looks at the camera and he goes, "Talk about a big league deal. CNN's going to eat this up tomorrow, aren't they?" Something like that. Or, he throws his campaign manager under the bus because something got leaked, and I don't know, he looks at the camera, "We got that motherfucker. He's going down. We're never going to see him again." It'd be really fun to see. But, one thing that this show really has showed me is that being a politician looks absolutely miserable. It looks terrible. And I know that this is a dramatization of how things really are, but I think Washington probably works in this way more than people think. And it looks just so depressing. It looks like you never have a chance to just settle down and relax. And this is why our government is run by a group of sociopaths. They work around the clock to be power-hungry demons. And what do you really earn? I don't know what the motivation of a politician is. It's definitely not money. For some of them is, Nancy Pelosi's worth how many millions, but most of them are not like that. And if your main thing is money, there are much better ways to earn money, like opening a pedophile island. And if their thing is power, I guess, but just in terms of legislation, one congressman or woman or senator, whatever, it really doesn't matter that much in the grand scheme of things. And even the president of our country, how much can they really change when we all know that, the deep state controls everything? So I don't know if their thing is power either. And I don't know what motivates them, because who would want to be in Congress? It's boring. It's a snooze fest. It's basically a retirement home at this point. Everyone you talk to is fake, and you're fake, and it's all fake, and it's all stressful. And yeah, I just don't know. I literally get, I get a headache just thinking about that. Like, it looks miserable. Now, I love to watch the TV show because it's entertaining, but to actually be one of those people, no, it looks awful. And you don't even get paid that much. It looks so dumb. Well, what will the constituents think of this? What about that bill? Did you read the fine print? Talk about a snooze fest. Get a hobby. What do you... Oh, my God. Like, no wonder those people are all screwed in the head. You'd have to be to ever want... Makes me exhausted. To end the episode on a more lighthearted note, in the United Kingdom, a comedian had a promotional poster for his comedy set, I guess, and it had a hot dog on the poster, and he was forced to remove the hot dog from the poster due to the United Kingdom's junk food ban. Now, whether you're a redcoat or not, if there was ever a good reason for us to have seceded from England, that's it right there. Thank God we're not going down that path. Let's keep eating hot dogs. So that'll about wrap up the episode today. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Don't become a politician, but do become a writer for the Epstein Island dramatization HBO or Netflix show. We'll see you later.